Okay, so we are back to our code. Now, this is the part two, so let's continue where we stopped. So another shortcut I will introduce is Control Tab to go to the previous tab. So I have my user controller already open. So instead of doing Control P, I'll just press Control Tab, which will switch me there. So let me do that now. So Control Tab. Now I want to write some code for the get single user and for the updates. But okay, so I'm going to write exports. I don't know. So exports dot get user equals and asynchronous function, arrow function. So which will have the request and the response, and have an arrow function. So I'll try and catch. So let's continue. So what I want to write here is let. So I'm going to require something from the request. So let me just call this let ID equals okay, let's do like this. Let's say underscore ID. Now we use underscore ID to reference MongoDB ID. So underscore ID is equals to request.params.id. So that's the ID we're going to make use of. Then I'm going to write the let user equals await user dot find one. Let's find one. And inside our find one, I'm going to just drop the ID. So the ID has ID. Okay, I don't need to do this. Let me just put ID. I've already done this down. Okay, here's right ID. So I'm just passing this ID. So this ID contains the ID itself. So let's continue. Now, what I want to do now is we want to say if user. So let's write the condition. Let's say if user or if not user. So let's do for if not user first. If not user, so it's always advisable to check for error before actually executing. So if not user, let's do res the status. The status for then passing some message. This success is false. And write the message telling us that does not exist or not found. That is not found, and we rest our case there, so we'll leave it there. So then if it exists, we do another rest the status puts 200, and we say dot JSON. So JSON, then the message will be user found. Then we have the last message. The last message will be the user. So return the user. So let me break this down so that everything will be a little bit, a little bit mixed. So let me just press Ctrl S. Like this format for me. So now we have done that. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to check for errors. So to check for errors, we just also return res the status and call this 500. So you should be expecting a server error. If there's a failure, then I want to pass in success as false. Then the message. Then the message should be the internal server error. Then I want to show the kind of error I'm getting. So that will be error.message. Error.message. So they are kind of done with this. So we're kind of done with this. So let's look at what we've written so far. So we want to just get this new user. So let's go and test this out. So let's press Ctrl P to go to the user routes, and in the user routes, I would like to shame them so that I won't be writing router every time. Let's move this down. So I'm going to add another route. So this is going to be get, and it's going to have an ID. So we put colon ID to specify that it's going to accept an ID. Then we want to do controller get user. So controller does get user. So doing this, we are fine. So I'll be formatted here. So doing this, we are fine. So now let's go to our REST client and let's write 3 hash. So 3 hash. Then under this, just write get. So that we get this is wrong. So let's write it the right way. Let's write get here. Then the URL should be http 3000 the user, and we want to add the additional thing in the front of this. That will be the ID. So I don't know the ID right now, so I'm going to just get all users in order to get the ID. So user was not found. So we have not created any user. So that means if we actually put a random text there, let me just send this. We also get an error, cast object field for value JK. So we'll come back to this. So first of all, let's create user. Let's create user. So we are able to find others. Let me look. I thought I've created user. No, I've not created user. So we can only get user and single user. So the next thing now to implement here is create user. Create user. So create users. So to create a user, what I want to do is I'm going to do export dot create user equals to async arrow function that has a request and a response. And so let's continue. Let me just push this up so that, or probably just close this up so that we have enough space to work. Yeah, let me do this for the other ones. So let me just close this up so that we have enough space to do our work. So now I want to create a user. So first thing I'll do is I'll request from the body. So let's say let's user or let's say request. Let's say user. Let user equals await request dot body, and let's write, and let's say so let's create it by saying, okay, let me just call this one body. Let me call this body. Then let me say let user, or better still, let me still call this user. Sorry about the name. Let me just call this user and let me call this create. So let me call this create is equals to await user dot, yeah, that's very better for us, user dot create. So inside the user dot create, I'll be passing the user. So I'll be passing the user. So there are other methods you can structure it in case you know what you want to add. But right now, I don't even know what I want to add. So, but later on we can modify it to that. So let's just continue. Then I'll say if create. Let me change this to created. Yeah, I think it makes sense. So if it is not created, So let's check for error. So if it's not encrypted, return rest dot status, rest dot status, and let's call that 400. So bad requests. So dot JSON, in our JSON, let's add some stuff like SS false, and the message should be user creation field. Yeah, I like the solution. So user creation field. So let's stop there. Then if it was created, let's just send out another response. So let's say return, or we just return this. Okay, let's return rest the status. Let's call it 200. Then dot JSON. So let's call it success. Let's call it true. Then the message should be user created successfully. Then we show the user that was created. So let's call this user or data. So let's just call the user and just put created. So we are fine with that. So let me just do a little fix here. I want to put my function in try and catch. So I'm just going to call this and write the try. Then after writing the try, I'm also going to write the catch. So the catch should have an error. So try and catch error. I know this. So try and catch error, which should return. So let's say rest the JSON, rest the status, that will be 500. So instead of send, we're going to change this to JSON. We're having this message internal server error. Then, so let me break this down. Come up and write success is false. Then want to add one more thing. That is the error. So that we know the error that is giving us. So write error and we put error like message. So let me just save so that will be formatted. Now that that is formatted, let me paste my previous code and Ctrl S to format it for me with the help of create here. So let's pre-test our code. So let's test our code. Let's test it out. So now let's go into our REST clients and just write another key hash and just write post. So the HTTP localhost. So let's remove this JK and let's leave it like this. Now I want to just put the content type. So content type. So content type should be content type here, application slash JSON. Yeah. So application slash JSON. Now content is what we're going to add now. So don't forget, we said the username is required. So username, let me call this. Let me say the username is Abiola. Then the email will be abiola@gmail.com and let me leave it alone like this for now. Let me leave it alone. I think these are the only required stuffs that we have in our model. So let me just confirm that by going to user, or just typing user the JS. So I have username, I have page. So okay, let me just leave everything the way it is. So let me just press Ctrl W to close this up. Now, so let's try sending a request. Before sending a request, let's go to our user route and add That's right. Let's register that out. So let's call it post. So dot posts dot create user. Now let's correct this from and turn it to just a ordinary slash. So doing an ID, especially when you are putting, except you are putting for a specific user. So this is pretty fine now. So let's go into our REST client and just test this out and see if we get any error. So let me put on my terminal. My terminal has been down. That is why. So now let's run what we have done so far. So we get an error telling us unexpected working line works. So let's go up to check the error. So it said there's an error in our model, in our routes. So let's check that out. I can't find any error here. Okay, maybe there's another error, unexpected token. Okay, unexpected in JSON as unexpected token in JSON as position. So let's keep checking what kind of error is this. Let's see if we can get a clue. Maybe we don't get a clue. We need to go back into our code and study it properly. So let me just close up this. Go to my user controller. Let me close my terminal for now. Let me look at this. Let's see what we are doing wrong. So the error is coming from this create user. So we have create user async. Yeah, we have the try and catch. We have the catch. We have the catch. So we have waited request body, then the created the user. Then we check if it's a user, if it was created, if the user was created. Then if it's not created, we get this error. Then if it's created, we send out this. Then where is the error? Unexpected line. Let's look at where the error is coming from here. So let me restart. Let me go down and just restart. So let's test out again. So let's write unexpected token at JSON at position. Oh, I see where the error is now. So the error is not from our code, but the error is from our REST client. So I'm going to remove just that comma, yeah, so that it can work. Now let me just send it again and see what we have. So user was created. So the reason why we build that error is because we have a comma. So anytime we have a comma, it's going to always bring out a problem. So now we have the user created. So let me just grab the ID and test out the get in the user route. So okay, this is created and this is fine. So we have the username, the email, the age as null as what we set it to. If I open the model now, let's go to user. So let's compare with what we have. So we have username is a string, so we get that. We have the email also as a string. We set age to null as default. So if I put, for example, 25 or 26, it's going to appear there. So it's a user, I set it to true by default. So that's why we have true there. Then it's admin, I set it to false. Then the time created and that's it. So the ID is automatically generated for us. So you don't need to use your ID except you want to still use it. So the next thing I'll do now is I want to search for, let me close this up. So I want to search for a particular user. So I'm just going to paste this here and send the request. So you see we get user found, so that is working. So you get user found. But what about if you send, if I change I remove just one of these and put another number. So let's see what we get. So it said user not found, so that's working. So let me just Control Z to return it to its original state. Then let me send again. Then so we have been able to successfully create a user, and to get a user, we can also get all users. So getting all users. So everything is working perfectly as expected. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to update. Now to update, let's go back to our controller and write our code for updating. So let me close up some of this to save space. So export dot update user is equals to an asynchronous function, like an arrow function. Then we want to request for the ID. So let's call this ID equals to an object ID, then request dot params dot the ID. And that's all we need to do in that part. Now let's update user. Let me just create something. Let me create let's update equals with our user model. Then we put find one and update. So we have a lot of options. So find one and update. So find one and update. Now what I want to update is I just want to pass in the ID. So I want to find one and update. Then I want to put a comma and say new. This optional and return it as true. Now whenever you return new as true, so you need to return the new product. So we're going to test that out. So let's quickly do that. So to find an update one, we need three things. You need to add the ID of the one you want to target. Then you need to pass in what you want to update. So now what I want to do now is I want to bring in let me call this user. So what I want to do to the user. So let me call this request.body. Yeah, request.body. And that's fine. Now let me bring this in. So I've dropped this there. So you can look for this ID. Then after looking for this ID, I update what I'm getting from the body. Then I return the new data. So now let's test out. So if updates, or if it is not update here, let's test for errors first. Check for errors first. If it is not update, return where's the status. Let's call that form rate. So tell us that the question field was about request. Then let's write not message yet. So let's say success is false, and the message should be user not updated. So user not updated, then the comma. Yeah, I think that's fine. That's fine for this area. User not updated. Now, if the user is updated, we also return the status and say 200. So 200, and we tag that with JSON. The JSON, then we pass in the success message. Success and say this is true. Then you say user updated, then return the value. We return the updated, and we say let's just return user, and let's call that updated. So let me see, so that this will be formatted. So this is formatted now, but I want it to still be more formatted. So let me just continue breaking this down so that now we are good to go. So we can update the user now. And let me quickly do the one for delete. Since Yeah, let me do the one for delete. Or probably, yeah, let's do one for delete in 32 hours. So export dot delete user equals async function, another function. Then let me just close this for a moment. So the next thing I want to do now is, oh, I don't want next. So let's just clear up this. Now I want to use a try and catch. Try and catch. Now I want to check. I think I messed up something. Yeah, so I did not wrap my code in a try and catch. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm just going to write the try catch. Now I'm going to put my code here. So format it. Now I also want to send a response if everything failed. So obviously the status code of 500. Then in JSON, let me give you the sources of false. Then the message, which is Ghana server error. Ghana server error. Then I want to bring out the error. And let me say error is error message. So error is error dot message. So error dot message. So let's quickly save that. So we'll test everything out very soon. So let me just close it for now. Then let me confirm something. Let me confirm something in my create user. Let me see the status code. So the status code should be 201, not 21. Whenever we create something, and status code 201 is created. So 200 is success. So success. So we can also use 200, but let's use the one that is not valid. So now let's continue with our delete. So in our delete, what we do now is let's acquire the ID. Is going to be equals to an object. So now let's call this delete. Let delete equals, let's call the with user dot find one and remove. Find one and remove. So we're just going to pass in the ID, and that's all. So we're going to pass in the ID, and that's all. So we write a condition now. Okay, let me change this to delete user. That delete is a special keyword. So a special keyword, so I can't use it. So let's use delete user for that. So or let me write deleted. Yeah, deleted makes sense. Deleted, yeah, makes sense. Yeah, now let's continue. Let's just start this and say if it is not deleted, then if it is not deleted, let's return reverse the status saying 400. Then you want to write JSON to show kind of message we got. Now I'm going to write here sources. I'm going to write false. Then I'm going to write the message and say user not deleted. User not deleted. So that's fine. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to return if it was successful. So let's return if it was successful. Then now we read the status. Then we're having the 200 tell us that it was successful. Then a JSON. So we want to write user updated. successfully. Then want to add I say updated, I mean deleted. So we're going to pass in any other information. So let's write user deleted successfully. So the user has been deleted successfully. Yeah, user deleted successfully. So now let's write for the server error. So just go here and say rest dot status, and let's give that 500 to show that server error. Then put a JSON that we're going to send, and so let's say user error, okay, internal server error. Then we also want to pass in a message, the error, we want to pass in the error. So that is error message. So now that is formatted for us already. So formatted for us already. So let me leave this alone. Now let's go and add everything to our route. So adding everything to our route, that's so for delete we just write, for updates we write puts. We use puts, can also use patch, but I'm going to stick with puts here. Then I'm going to remove this semicolon to remove the error. Then we write controller dot update user. So that's fine. Then I'm going to add an ID to that. Let me just duplicate this. Then I'll change this to delete. Then I'm going to change this to delete user. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So repeated. So we have 5 parts. We have the user that's the user and ID, the user with the ID. So let's just test it out. So let's say I want to do is okay, let me just do the one for updates. So let me just copy all this and just duplicate. So let me change this post to puts. So change this to puts. Then I'm going to add an ID. So let me add the ID of that guy we grabbed earlier. Now let me change his name from Abiola to just the other Abiola. So let's change this to Abiola and see if our code does not have an error. So let me open my terminal to see if I even have an error. So I don't have an error at the moment. So let me enter Zen so that I can have more control to avoid distractions. So let me just write Control K and Z. Then I'm in the Zen mode. So let me open my terminal now. So let's check this out. So let's send a request successfully. So user was updated successfully. So we have a very big success in updating user. Now let's do another operation. Let's try to add one more user and delete that user. So let's update. So we can even update. Okay, let me add age, for example. So age. Let me add age. So age is a number. So let me just add 25. So add a comma here. Then let's send that. See, that's updated, and that's 25. So now let's just do something. Let's do something here. Let's do for delete. But before doing delete, let me just create another user. Let me create these. Let me call these. Let me call these. Let me call this Sandra, and change the email also to Sandra. Yeah. So we are creating Sandra. So yeah, Sandra has been created successfully. Now let's work on a delete route. So let's work on a delete. So just write a W. Yeah. Now let's work on a delete. So all right, delete the address, the URL. Then I'm going to add the user I want to delete. So let me just close out this other one. So that I let me close up the terminal so that I can have control over what I'm writing. So this is all I need to do to delete the user. So now let's test this out by just sending a request. So user deleted successfully. Now let's do some, let's check for all our users to ensure that everything is working fine. So user with ID not found. Okay, let's get all user. So get all user. So the user we have now is this. So now let me do some, let me create, let me add another user with James. So let me add another one, James. Oh, James. Let me add. Now let me add another person. Let me call this Fumi. So let's create. So we've created some users now. So let's get all the users. So we have how many of them? 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let me just do something like model. So let me just go to press Control P and go to. Okay, let me do something. Let me just close up one of these by pressing Control W and even Control W. Yeah. So I even close up this. So let me just do something. Let me go to the first one we created. That's get all users. Let me just add user count so I can know the amount of user that we have. So let me say count. Let me just call this count and say users dot length. Yeah, and that's easy. So let's go back to our user dot rest. Now let's get all users again. So let's just go down. So we have 4 users. So the count is 4. So this is how to just do this is how to work with MongoDB in Expert using the package